names. Some of those highlighted have already found new homes. We'll continue to talk about those. Malik Willis going to the Dolphins. That's a highlight of today. Kenneth Walker to the Chiefs. And this just happened. The Titans reaching an agreement with former Saints cornerback Alontae Taylor. The breaking news from Adam Schefter. Adam, what do we know here?
Laura, 3 years, $60 million, an average of $20 million a year. The Titans get a cornerback that they want. Keep in mind, they hire Robert Saleh as the head coach, and they went out and signed a boatload of players, spent a lot of money today. Take a look at all the signings from Tennessee today. Alontae Taylor, Cordell Flott, John Franklin Myers, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Daniel Bellinger, both of whom reunite with Brian Daboll, the Titans offensive coordinator, the former Giants head coach, 2 Giants, and Mitchell Trubisky steps in as the former backup quarterback. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Brian Daboll might have coached Mitchell Trubisky in Buffalo as well at one point in time. So a lot of familiarity there with Brian Daboll and Robert Saleh, and them spending a lot of money with all the cap space that Tennessee had. Titans very active today.
You can see exactly what the Tennessee Titans are doing. We believe we have a talented young quarterback on a rookie deal. Let's build this team up as much as possible. A couple of years back, you go out and get L'Jarius Sneed. That hasn't panned out due to injury. So you add Cordell Flott, who was great last year for the New York Giants. Alontae Taylor, who could play both inside and outside. You add pass rush. I love everything they're doing, but one of the underrated signings might be Mitchell Trubisky. Right? Someone who can relay to the young quarterback, Cam Ward, exactly what Brian Daboll is communicating and be there as a support.
Let's throw those names back up again if we can, guys, just as Lewis talks about the signings that they've made. Seems like it's very strategic, too, to Ryan's point about filling some key holes.
Yeah, look, we say this all the time, right, that in the NFL, it's not just about talent acquisition, it's about team building, right? So Ryan is pointing out that these are strategic acquisitions because they make sense. It's like pieces in a puzzle. The quarterback room has to be constructed the right way. Cam Ward needs a guy who he's going to say, look, you've been through the fire, you've had some starts, you've had some ups, and had some downs. That's Mitchell Trubisky's career. I'm going to respect you. At the same time, you know I'm the guy. I'm going to be the guy. But see, that has the potential to have a great relationship. On the defensive side, Robert Saleh obviously has a vision for how he wants to play defense. If you've ever watched Alontae Taylor play, you'll know that's exactly the kind of dude he's talking about. Inside, outside dude that will knock your head off.
Yes.
I love the marriage,
too.
Defensive-minded head coach with a young, talented quarterback. It sounds like, oh, don't you want the offensive guy? But a lot of times this ends up working out. Jeremy, you had something to add?
Well, the Titans had nearly $100 million in cap space. Like, they had to get busy today knowing that let's fill some needs, maybe even some second-tier needs where we get them, and then at the draft we can take the bigger swings that we want to surround Cam Ward with more. I still think they can get an outside receiver. Maybe they go to Jeremiah Love in the draft, get a running back. Like, the possibilities are endless. Also, watch linebacker for them as well. They wanted Tremaine Edmonds, who I believe just signed with the New York Giants. Quincy Williams, they have familiarity with him from the Jets. So they could be
there you go.
They have the 4th overall pick. Tennessee does. That would not be too high for Jeremiah Love. You mentioned Tremaine Edmonds. He did just sign, or at least agree to terms, with the Giants. That's an interesting one. Adam, they add a veteran presence here for Harbaugh's team.
Look, looking to upgrade the defense, and it's interesting because the Bears got Tremaine Edmonds after they traded Roquan Smith to the Ravens, and John Harbaugh, he had Roquan Smith, and now the Bears have released Tremaine Edmonds, and John Harbaugh signs Tremaine Edmonds in New York after he was released. Wasn't the only addition for the Giants today. The Giants also added Isaiah Likely, the former Ravens tight end, who was in Baltimore with John Harbaugh, now goes over to the New York Giants, a 3-year, $40 million deal, a big deal for the New York Giants and for Isaiah Likely in the free agent tight end market as Jackson Dart finds another offensive weapon in New York. And the Indianapolis Colts, after they reached agreement with Alec Pierce, traded Michael Pittman to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They flopped late-round draft picks. The Steelers get Michael Pittman, and all they give up essentially is the flop of picks, and then they signed Pittman to a 3-year, $59 million deal, a new deal for Michael Pittman. We mentioned Alec Pierce. He gets done a huge 4-year, $116 million contract with the Indianapolis Colts. He was a priority for them to keep. They get the deal done. He's staying in Indianapolis, and that meant obviously that they were going to look to deal Michael Pittman after that. That's exactly what they did with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But Pierce is staying in Indianapolis, and they hope to team him up with the quarterback Daniel Jones, who still remains on the transition tag.
Adam, back to you in moments. And listen, as much as today is about players finding new teams and teams getting richer and all of these things based on their rosters, sometimes it's about holding on to one that you really just could not see walk out the door. And it felt like that with Alec Pierce. How big is it, Lewis, to keep him in that offense?
Well, it's big dollars to keep him in this offense. And look, 28.5 a year puts him, right around, 10 or 11 in terms of average per year. I mean, it's right around T's numbers, Jalen Waddle's numbers, and he deserves it. 2 years in a row of 20-plus yards per reception. And some people say, look, I've seen it put on social media that this guy is a low-volume pass catcher. It's not because he doesn't want the targets. It's not because he doesn't have the entire route tree that he can run so he could get more targets. It's just because that's the way they used him. I promise you this. It'll be a lot more than just go balls, post routes, 7 routes, and double moves for him this year. He's going to get a whole lot of targets. I loved him when he came out of Cincy in 2022. I thought he was kind of a one-trick pony then because of his speed, because he's got ridiculous speed. But he has kind of really evolved his game into being a true 1A type of guy who's right on the cusp of maybe being a number one. And with Michael Pittman not being there now, Michael did a lot of the dirty work. A lot of the shallows, a lot of the unders, a lot of the catch and run stuff. Maybe Alec Pierce does this now, because for 28.5 a year, you're going to be asked to do a lot.
I think he's the guy. I think he likes to do the dirty work. He's that type of player, so he's certainly capable of it. We'll see how that role continues to grow. And you mentioned Michael Pittman. Let's talk about that on the Pittsburgh side of things. As the Steelers sign their new wide receiver, $59 million for 3 years. And here's the reality. They got DK Metcalf. They've got some weapons. Who's the quarterback going to be, RC? They're going to get to throw, though, to this guy. I know he's striking. I don't know. Nobody knows. By the way, in case you missed it, A-Rodgers told Pat McAfee he's nowhere near making any.
That should have been the first question.
Yeah.
Who gonna throw it to him?
I don't know. Well, that's why I'm asking. Who's gonna throw it to him?
Omar Khan? No, I don't know.
I don't think Omar Khan knows.
I think the first thing is, right, we've seen the success that Michael Pittman has had in this league, right? And you want to look at both he and DK Metcalf and figure out what's going to be the individual roles of each player, because they run similar routes, right? They're built with a similar frame. I think DK has a step that Michael Pittman doesn't have. And so it's going to be which guy gets the better matchup, and that's where the football needs to go. I do believe losing Kenneth Gainwell is huge for this team, right? He was the #1 pass catcher for the Pittsburgh Steelers last year. So involving Michael Pittman, having him do some of that dirty work, some of the crossers, some of the work on the inside as DK Metcalf continues to stretch the field, that's going to be incredible for him to acclimate into Pittsburgh.
Jeremy, any conversation around the Steelers at the 21st overall pick going quarterback? Ty Simpson might still be there at that point.
Well, they've done a lot of work on this particular quarterback class. Now, a lot of people 8 months ago thought it was going to be a little stronger than it is based on what played out in 2025, but they're prepared to take one at some point potentially. I don't know if he'll be in the first round. We'll see what happens with Ty Simpson, but
Carson back later.
Could be a day 2, day 3 option for them. Michael Pittman's interesting, though, only 28 years old. He's due $24 million in cash. I think what we saw some of these receivers making, like Alec Pierce, the Steelers said, hey, that's actually not that bad. Only give up a late-round pick for him. So now they got 2 big-body receivers to work with.
See, look, nobody's done a better job of developing the wide receiver room than Pittsburgh over time, especially through the draft. Now, obviously, this is 2 veteran acquisitions when you're talking about DK last year and Michael this year, but they play off of one another. They needed the different types. Same big bodies, run different routes. They needed that, but as we all know, it ain't going to matter until they find a signal caller.
Steelers wide receivers.
This is such a departure from what the Pittsburgh Steelers used to be, Lou. You know, this was a draft you, develop you, turn you into a star sort of organization. And since Omar Khan has taken over as the general manager, they've been much more aggressive in free agency.
Steelers wide receivers combining for 136 receptions last season, 31st in the NFL. So departure from what they've wanted to be. Pittman and DK Metcalf, both 6'4", by the way, about 225 pounds. How about this from Jeremy Fowler? The Chiefs losing another player. What's going on with Brian Cook?
$42.5 million over 3 years for Brian Cook to Cincinnati. Cincinnati's been going hard trying to get defenders in this area. They wanted to shore up the back end, so one of the top 3 or 4 safeties they were going to get. And so they're dedicated to improving that defense on all 3 levels. They've looked into trades, too. Rashawn Gary they looked into. Some other options. They even kicked the tires on Max Crosby. So they are serious about improving around Joe Burrow.
We'll talk about some of those moves that other teams have made. The Bengals missing out on those players, but maybe who else can they get in the draft? And look at this, our free agent board. Some of the players still left available. We've talked about some of them. Rashid Shaheed, Taylevon Chason. I'm going down the list here. Rasheed Walker. Anybody that has the NFL shield to the left of their name, they have yet to find a new team. Trey Hendrickson, one of these